Hey, what is up, mortals? It is Trina Do Hard here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 21 of What If Deku Met Ryoko. I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. So we begin. In a remote location, the chief of the Public Safety Commission gave the order for the raids to begin. The plan of attack had been laid out for the past few months. With the aid of Hawks on the inside of the Liberation Army, the commission had set two targets, Shigaraki and the Liberation Forces. During his time with the Liberation Army, Hawks had learned of Shigaraki's enhancement procedure. He also learned that the process was nearing its completion. The Feathered Pro knew they could not allow the process to be completed. The Pro heroes led the charge. Endeavor led the attack on the mansion, while Miriko led the attack on the hospital. Everything seemed to be in the heroes' favor. However, as the doctor was watching, he knew that he needed more time for Shigaraki's procedure to be completed. The doctor looked around the lab and saw many high-end Nomus in tanks like Shigaraki. Shigaraki knew they were not ready to be active yet, but he could risk losing them. Shigaraki's completion was the most important thing. Shigaraki ran his hands across the keyboard in front of him. After hitting several commands, the tanks all opened. The doctor ordered the high-ends to destroy any heroes that they came across. Meanwhile, at the mansion, Hawks had tracked down Twice in the chaos of the battle. His mission was to take Twice in a sad man's parade off the board.
Dude, please don't kill me! Do it, you wimp! If I let you go, would you leave this place? Would you promise to not fight anymore for the rest of your days? I cannot do that! The League members are my friends! I cannot abandon them! I can respect that, Twice, but it means I have no choice but to complete my mission.
Hawks drew one of his long feathers and slashed Twice across the chest. The villain fell to the floor unmoving. Blood pooled around the villain's body. Hawks checked for a pulse. There was none. Hawks was grateful for that, but also sad. As Hawks went to leave the room, a blast of blue fire consumed the room.
Well, look at this. The number 2 hero just killed someone. Not very hero-like.
Izuku, Melissa, Ryoko, Bakugo, and Todoroki were standing by, waiting to assist. All of a sudden, the hospital exploded with a blast of force. Several high-end Nomu charged out of the building. The 5 UA students went to work. Bakugo and Todoroki assaulted the Nomu with fire and explosions. Izuku used his power to reshape the earth around the Nomu and then change the ground into a strong steel alloy. Melissa unleashed a powerful rain of blows against her foes. Ryoko used her balanced style of close range and long range fighting to assist where needed. Against lesser Nomus, these attacks would have finished them off, but these were high ends. Izuku yelled over the noise of the battlefield. Guys, we need to work together! These Nomus are different from the ones we faced before! The others replied in affirmative tone. Bakugo was the only one to respond harshly.
Don't tell me what to do, nerd!
Bakugo did not hesitate to fall in line with his classmates. Bakugo, Melissa, and Ryoko used their close-range fighting styles to weaken the Nomus. Todoroki then used his ice to encase the creature and prevent them from moving. Izuku then used his Lighthawk power to transform the ice into a strong metal alloy. This made it impossible for the creatures to move.
Nice job, Izuku. Why did you encase their heads also?
Remember that high-end Nomu that Endeavor fought a while back? How he ripped his head off and allowed his body to regrow?
I remember. That was disturbing.
Well, I did not want to take any chances of that happening. There was enough crazy stuff going on.
Agreed.
Meanwhile, in the depths of the hospital, Miriko had decimated the group of high-ends that attacked her. She was then backed up by other pro heroes, including Night Eye and Mirio.
Miriko, we can handle these creatures. You need to get to the heart of the facility and stop Shigaraki from waking up.
Thanks, Night Eye. I am off. Be careful, you two. Miriko sped off into the heart of the facility, kicking and punching anyone who got in her way. Miriko was not the only hero descending upon the basement of the hospitals. Another group, which included Aizawa, Cementos, and Present Mike, broke in first. The 4 powerful heroes started attacking and disabling the Nomus in the lab. The scene was chaotic at first. Dust filled the air, and the heroes knew they needed to stop the Nomu and the doctor first. In the struggle, Miriko lost an arm to one of the Nomus. Like a badass, Miriko ripped off a piece of her costume and tied off her severed limb to stop the bleeding. She then kept fighting like nothing had happened. The 4 knew they needed to deal with Shigaraki's tank. They all noticed that the timer read 3 minutes. Present Mike and Cementos nodded to each other. Present Mike unleashed a full power scream at the tank. The glass machinery shattered into tiny pieces. Cementos then used his power over cement to destroy any machinery that Mike missed. Shigaraki's body laid on the ground lifeless and unmoving. One hero moved into the check for life signs, but got none. Within Shigaraki's mind, a storm of destruction swirled. He then saw the figure of All for One standing before him. The giant man was cloaked in shadows.
Master, you look like Kuwagiri. Take my hand, Tomura Shigaraki, and accept me. Suddenly, vestiges of Tomura's family appeared around him. They grabbed onto him and tried to prevent him from joining the Dark Emperor, but Tomura was not having it. He placed his hands on each one in turn and decayed them to dust. He then took All-For-One's hand and the two merged. Back in the real world, a pro was checking Shigaraki's pulse. Suddenly, the seemingly dead body sat up and inhaled dramatically. Shigaraki then grabbed the hero by the neck and decayed him on the spot. Let's see how you handle this, heroes. Shigaraki placed his hand on the ground and unleashed a wave of decay. It spread outward from its location, devouring everything it touched. In the hospital, the decay wave overtook many heroes. Aizawa was only saved by the quick action of the hero Crust. The noble hero's last words to Aizawa were that he had to survive if they were going to win. As Crust dissolved, he gave Aizawa a thumbs up with a smile on his face. Outside the hospital, Izuku and his group were all surprised by the decay wave that came on them. They would have been overtaken if not for the quick action of Melissa. She unleashed a powerful kick at 70%. The pressure wave it unleashed drove the decay wave back and protected the group from harm. That was Shigaraki's power, but it is way bigger than it used to be. Looks like he has been training too. I got the feeling that it was something more. Melissa grabbed her head. I agree with that. There was something evil coming this way. As the decay wave ended, the entire hospital and the area around it had been completely laid to waste. Every structure was now a pile of dust. Shigaraki now stood at the center of the destruction with a smile on his face. Suddenly, more Nomu appeared from under the rubble. These were black like the high-ended, but they were more animalistic than the high-ends. Looks like I can choose what I decay now. Suddenly, a voice spoke in Shigaraki's mind.
He is here, my little brother. One for all is nearby.
Shigaraki could sense how many people were around him. He figured this was the quirk search from that pussycat that AFO captured. It took Shigaraki a moment to take in the new information. He then spoke in a determined tone. There it is. I will take one for all. Shigaraki then leapt high into the air and started to head toward Izuku's group. Izuku, Melissa, and Ryoko sensed the danger approaching. The three looked at each other with worried looks. Bakugo saw the silent exchange. Hey nerd, fangirls! Don't keep us in the dark! Shigaraki's on his way over here. At least I think it is Shigaraki. He seems like a totally different person. It is him. I think they gave him All-For-One. This is why his presence seems so sinister. Whatever they did to him, we need to be ready. We need to move. That is a good idea, Midoriya. But you overlooked one thing. Shigaraki is not just going to follow us because we ask. Weren't you listening before, Icy Hot? If that loser has All-For-One now, he'll be after Melissa and One for All. That is probably why he's on his way here. I get it. He will follow Melissa wherever she goes. Damn, you are so stupid. Okay, let's move. The 5 heavy hitters of 1A followed Izuku's lead. As the group moved, Izuku called Sir Night-Eye over his radio. Sir, my group is moving to a more secure location. Why, Deku? What is happening? Izuku explained the situation to Night-Eye. The Stern Man knew that Shigaraki had woken up. He and his group barely made it out alive. Are you sure he is after Melissa? I can't be sure, but his movements would suggest that. Okay, proceed, Deku. Please watch out for yourself as well as the others. I will, sir. Meanwhile, the raid on the mansion was starting to go sideways. Several of the main fighters of the Liberation Army had joined the fight. This included Redestro and Genten. However, there were bigger problems. Hawks was being attacked by Dabi. The villain overtook him and burned off most of his wings. The hero would have died if Tokoyami had not shown up and flown him to safety. Dabi then turned his attention to the #1 hero, Endeavor. He contacted the hacker, Skeptic. Play the tape. It's time for that bastard to get his just desserts. The hacker hit a few commands on his laptop. A pre-recorded video started to play over the airwaves of Japan. Dabi then found Endeavor in the middle of a battle with other villains. He unleashed a powerful wave of blue fire. This engulfed several of his allies as well as Endeavor. You kill your own comrades, villain! Whoever said they were my comrades. And you have no right to lecture me, Enji Todoroki. Every death I cause is on your head. After all, you created me. What are you talking about? I only met you recently. Dabi started to dance around and spoke in a crazed voice. It is really sad that you've forgotten me. Dabi reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a bottle and removed the lid. He then poured the liquid inside over his head. As the liquid washed over his hair, it changed from pitch black to solid white. Recognize me now. You probably know me by my former name, Toya. Endeavor stood frozen.
All the tragic memories of his fallen son came back to him. He could not think or speak. All of his worst fears had come to light in those 2 sentences. All of his failures as a father laid before him. Back at Jaku, Izuku suddenly got a chill down his back. He stopped in his tracks. His friends were surprised by the move. Why did you stop, nerd? We need to keep moving. We're almost to the battlefield. Endeavor's in trouble at the mansion! Todoroki stepped forward. What kind of trouble? I don't know, Todoroki, but it is bad. The flame face can take care of it himself. We need to focus on Shigaraki. If Endeavor does not get help right now, he will die! Okay, but even if someone went after him, it would take a while to get to him. I have a plan. I can wrap you and Kacchan there in an instant. Is that safe? Forget safety! Do it, nerd! Really, Kacchan? Not at all. I wanted a piece of the big bad, but if the #1 hero dies in this battle, that could have negative repercussions on the heroes. Plus, if Shigaraki has the ability to take quirks now, me and Icy Hot will be targets. You 3 are the best opinion for fighting that loser. Bakugo knew that Ryoko was not normal. Her powers were very similar to Izuku's. She was probably an alien too. He knew this was the best plan of attack with the greatest chance of victory. Bakugo turned to his childhood friend. Do it! Izuku nodded. He summoned the Lighthawk power from within and created a barrier around Bakugo and Todoroki. The barrier started to glow. It then shrunk down to the size of a softball and zoomed off into the distance. The green teen turned to face Ryoko and Melissa. Let's do this! Both the girls nodded in agreement. The 3 turned to complete a short journey to their chosen battlefield. As Shigaraki chased after Izuku's group, he realized he forgot something important in his haste to get One for All. He activated his radio waves power and called out to his trump card, Gigantomachia. He told the beast to come to him and destroy anything that got in his way. The giant woke up and broke through the ceiling of the underground base. He then took off toward the hospital, following his new master's orders. This sent the heroes at the scene into a panic. Midnight saw the path the monster was taking. It went straight through several highly packed suburbs. The heroes had not been able to evacuate those areas yet. This was going to be a disaster. Midnight quickly sent out a message over her radio to anyone who was nearby. The ones who received that message were Momo and a gathering of 1A and 1B members. She knew that they would have to stop this monster. What should we do, Sensei? Yaoyorozu, create a powerful sedative, the most powerful one you can, and use it on the beast. But Sensei, that is against the law! It has to be done, my girl. If we don't, many people will die. Their safety comes first. Okay, we will protect everyone. Momo then started creating metal cylinders containing the most powerful sedatives she knew of. She then handed out one to each of her classmates. She then laid out a plan for them to contain this threat. In the rubble of the mansion, Dabi was about to finish off his father when a bright light came streaking onto the scene. The light expanded into a dome and then disappeared. Standing where the dome had been was Shoto Todoroki and Katsuki Bakugo. The 2 wore determined looks on their faces. Well, if it isn't little Shoto Todoroki, the chosen one, this is turning into a regular family reunion. What do you mean by that, villain? You don't remember your older brother Toya? What about him? I am him! That can't be! He is not lying, Icy Hot. In fact, look at your dad. I would say he believes it. Shoto glanced over at his father. The man was shell-shocked. He was mumbling to himself. All of his flames had gone out. There was no more fight in the man. I think it is time to use that new move of yours. I will take care of the others. Thank you, Bakugo. Just make sure you win, Icy Hot. This video is sponsored by Adobe. Adobe is redefining the digital experience through game-changing innovations that shape the next generation of storytelling. Adobe makes it easy to create, edit, and share digital documents securely, allowing you to collaborate and communicate across devices. Adobe Photoshop is your go-to application for raster graphics editing and digital art as a whole. At We the Celestials, all our thumbnails across every channel are created with Adobe Photoshop. Adobe Premiere Pro is a timeline-based and non-linear video editing software application that is versatile and easy for beginning and master editors. Finally, Adobe After Effects is the industry-standard tool for digital visual effects, motion graphics, and compositing applications used in post-production. Many of our voice actors, audio editors, and video editors use Premiere Pro and After Effects to produce these high-quality videos. Check the link in the description to start creating now. And thank you to Adobe for sponsoring this video. Shoto walked forward. An icy blue vest of flame appeared across the teen's shoulders and chest. What do you think, brother? I call this move phosphor. Dabi's blue flames came alive at the sight. Interesting. Let's see how you handle the old man's hell spider move. Dabi unleashed several giant tendrils of fire at his brother. They engulfed Shoto and he vanished in a binding wall of fire.
Bakugo had grabbed Endeavor and the nearby heroes and moved them to safety. He could see the flames descending on one location. He thought to himself,
"Give it your all, Icy Hot. That guy is crazy and won't hold back."
Dobby laughed uncontrollably. Suddenly, a burst of icy blue flames overtook Dobby's cruel blue flames. The fire was extinguished and ice formed where the flames had been. Suddenly, a ball of icy blue fire launched from the location of the ice. Shoto's voice rang out over the battlefield.
"Cold Flames! Pale Blade!"
The spear of power hit Dobby in the chest and sent the crazed villain flying. Dobby landed several feet away. His body was coated in ice.
"What is this?"
Shoto walked over to his brother's location. He seemed unharmed from his bath of blue fire.
"I learned to combine my ice and fire in a new way. The flames that my phosphor creates can extinguish even the hottest fire."
Dobby got even more angry and his flames grew even hotter. His body was turning black and charred from the strain.
"I will not lose to you! I will finish you and then I will kill our family while Endeavor watches on helplessly. It is what he deserves." "That won't happen. Our father is a scumbag, but our siblings and mother did nothing to deserve death. You've lost your mind." "I don't care what you think! Just die already!"
Dobby, now fully clothed in this blue fire, charged at Shoto. The two exchanged fiery blows. The clash of these two brothers could be heard and seen for miles around. Shoto noticed that Dobby's body was starting to give out. His limbs were still more than lumps of charcoal at this point, but the man was still fighting. Shoto knew he had to finish off the crazed man. Shoto gathered his remaining ice fire in his right hand. A huge ice flame spear formed around his appendage. Dobby charged at Shoto once more. The bicolored teen ran toward his enemy and shouted,
"Great Glacial! Anchor!"
The cool fire punch hit Dobby square on. A giant pillar of ice formed where Dobby stood. A thick icy mist covered the battlefield and extinguished every trace of fire. A few minutes passed. The mist cleared and Shoto stood in front of his brother. The man had been turned into a frozen statue. His charred body was coated in a thick layer of bluish ice.
"You live like a villain. You end like a villain, brother."
Shoto turned to walk away. Suddenly, the ice covering Dobby cracked and blue flames emerged. The ice evaporated and Dobby started to move again.
"Did you think this was over? I will have my revenge!"
Suddenly, Dobby's arms fell off and burned to ash. The rest of his body followed until nothing was left of the mad fire user. Shoto thought about how his brother's fate could have been his. He was lucky to have met Midoriya when he did. Back at Jaku, Izuku, Melissa, and Ryoko arrived at their chosen battlefield. It was already an evacuated area that had been devastated by the battle. Izuku figured it would be a good place to distract Shigaraki while the other heroes arrived. The three did not have long to wait. Shigaraki came on the scene by falling from the sky and hitting the ground with the force of a meteor. The three were surprised by Shigaraki's appearance. Their friends remembered him as being dreadfully thin and his skin being rubbed raw. Now, though, the villain was chiseled like a granite statue. His presence has changed too. He was no longer the unhinged man-child of old. Now he emitted waves of evil intensity. The only thing that remained from the old villain they knew was the evil glow in his eyes, the look that desired destruction and death.
"It has been a long time, Midoriya Shield." "Midoriya Shield?"
He looked over at Ryoko.
"I don't believe I know you." "It doesn't matter if you know me. All you need to know is I'm gonna kick your butt." "I highly doubt that."
Shigaraki placed his hand on the ground. The villain intended to unleash another wave of decay, but nothing happened. A shocked look crossed Shigaraki's face.
"What is going on?"
The villain looked around and then understood.
"You are so cool, Eraserhead."
The three teens saw what their opponent saw. Standing at the edge of the battlefield was Aizawa with his gaze firmly planted on Shigaraki. The normal hero manual was supporting Aizawa's efforts by using his water powers to keep the Eraser hero's eyes hydrated. Aizawa yelled at the top of his lungs.
"This is all I can do for you three. Take him out quickly. I know you can do it."
The three nodded in silent agreement. Melissa heard the voice of the first youth in her mind.
"Be careful, Melissa. He has been altered. His body can now handle a quirk that is beyond the singularity."
Melissa thought back to him. "I know, Yorichi, but I will still give it my all." The response came as a chorus of 7 voices speaking as one.
"We are with you also. Show him the true power of All for One." "Quirks or no, I will still finish you all off. I will also take One for All from you, Shield."
Shigaraki charged the three. Izuku and Ryoko took to the air. Both charged up Energy Blast. Ryoko's looked like red orbs. Izuku's looked like miniature white stars. The two held a blast in each hand. The blast hit the villain like a freight train. Meanwhile, Melissa charged up her full cowling to her 80% maximum. She flew at the villain with insane speed. She then unleashed a barrage of strikes that caused waves of air pressure to rip across the battlefield. Shigaraki countered with a powerful blow of his own against Melissa and her teammates. The four sent the three teens flying backwards.
You see the power I have now. I am equal to All Might in his prime without my other quirks. What chance do you have when Eraserhead has to blink?
Izuku got up and drew Tenchi from his belt holster. He ordered the blade out of stun mode into lethal mode. His grandfather had told the teen to only put his sword into this mode if he intended to kill. Looking at the villain before him, Izuku knew he could not pull his punches. If he didn't fight to kill, then he and the girls would all die. That could not happen. Izuku zipped across the battlefield. He raised Tenchi and delivered a powerful slash across the villain's chest. It left a deep cut. Izuku then followed up with a telekinetic shove, sending his opponent back. As Shigaraki flew backwards, Ryoko flew in and delivered a barrage of energy-enhanced punches. Her last hit had such force that it drove the villain into the ground. Shigaraki got to his feet. He thought to himself,
"These kids would be nothing if I could use my quirks, but they are not about to just let me go after Eraser. I will just have to finish them quickly."
Melissa and Izuku rushed Shigaraki. Ryoko joined in. A fierce battle ensued. Time slowed as the four got more engrossed in the battle. It seemed like hours passed, but it was only minutes. All three UA students were getting really beat up, but they also scored major hits. Izuku had cut off one of Shigaraki's arms above the elbow. Ryoko had delivered several powerful blasts. Melissa landed the most devastating damage. The blonde had abandoned all sense of restraint. She pummeled the villain with 100% of her power. Her arms had turned a dark shade of purple. Blood ran down her arms in streams. At the edge of the battlefield, Aizawa was struggling to keep his eyes open. Even with the assistance of Manuel, Aizawa was reaching his limit. After a few more minutes, Aizawa said to himself,
"I am sorry, kids."
And with that, he blinked. Shigaraki's regeneration quirk healed the damage from the assault instantly. He reached his palm toward the ground as he laughed with villainous glee.
Looks like I win.
Suddenly, a black tendril wrapped itself around Shigaraki. It was Melissa's Black Whip power. She then activated the power of the seventh user, Nana Shimura, Float. This caused the two opponents to rise into the air. This saved everyone on the ground. As she rose into the air, Melissa saw three things. First, there were several groups of heroes making their way to the battlefield to help. It was a good thing she had taken the two into the air. Second, she saw that Midori and Ryoko were following her into the air. Lastly, she could see that a cloud of dust was approaching from a distance. She figured that must be the giant henchman that All Might and Night Eye mentioned. She knew they needed to end this fight with Shigaraki. If it went on, and the giant arrived, it would become more difficult to win. As Izuku flew up after Melissa, Bright spoke into his mind.
"Izuku, the time approaches for you to use that power."
Izuku thought back. Is that a good idea? You told me that move could kill me.
"I believe you can handle it. You have trained for this. Remember, I am with you, Izuku."
Izuku did not respond. He just flew on. He did not like this idea, but he knew he had no choice. The three met up in the sky and renewed their attack. Shigaraki's healing power repaired the damage as fast as they could inflict it. However, something strange was happening. Their enemy was healing slower than before. They all figured that must be the regeneration quirk's weakness. It can only perform so many instant heals in a short amount of time. Izuku, Melissa, and Ryoko all gave a silent nod of understanding. All of them knew this was their chance to end this. Melissa used Black Whip to pull Shigaraki in close. She channeled 100% of One For All power into her fist. The villain zoomed through the air in Melissa's direction. She drew her fist back and delivered a powerful blow against the villain. Melissa screamed at the top of her lungs, "Alaska Smash!" Melissa's arm became even more purple and bloody. This caused her to fall unconscious from the effort. The blonde girl's last thought as she passed out was, "Please don't get back up. I have nothing left." This caused her float power to deactivate. She and Shigaraki started to fall. Fortunately, Ryoko saw this and flew in and caught Melissa. Izuku created a large barrier under Shigaraki as he fell. That kept the villain from falling back to the ground. Izuku shouted over to Ryoko, "Take care of Melissa! I will finish Shigaraki!" Ryoko nodded. She then flew back to the ground with Melissa laying limp in her arms. The white-haired girl thought to herself, "Be careful, Izuku." Izuku and Shigaraki stood on the air barrier. About 15 feet separated the two. The villain's body was coming apart at the seams. He spoke in a raspy voice.
"So you will finish me? You forget, I still have all for one. Shigaraki closed the distance in a second and placed his hand on Izuku's face. I will steal your power and then the girls. As the villain tried to take Izuku's power, a booming voice spoke in the two's mind.
I think not, Tenko Shimori.
Shigaraki felt a strange force pass through his body. He fell to his knees, all of his energy leaving him. Shigaraki spoke in a voice that was a cross between panic and annoyed. What did you do to me? Izuku grabbed Shigaraki by the shoulders and hoisted him up to eye level. He looked at the villain square in the eye and said, Not enough! Izuku summoned all of the Light Hawk power within him. His aura became visible. It turned from its normal aqua green to a hot white. His eyes also glowed with power. He then channeled all of his power into Shigaraki's form. The cracks in the villain's body widened as white energy shot out of them. Shigaraki screamed in agony. You can't do this! Heroes don't kill people! If I let you live, then you would hurt my friends. I won't let that happen. Izuku let his restraint go. He let all of the Light Hawk power flow freely from his body. As he did so, Shigaraki's body burned away, his regeneration unable to keep up with the damage. Bright spoke into Izuku's mind. Let me take control, Izuku. If your power continues to surge like this, you will die. Izuku managed to think back. Okay. He then passed out. As Bright took control of Izuku's mind and brought his power under control, he spoke through the boy's mouth. You did well, Izuku, but you still have a lot to learn. Fear not, I will see about your friends. Rest now. Izuku woke up with a start. Look out! Look out for what? Izuku's vision cleared. He realized he was in a hospital in bed. Sitting at the foot of the bed in a chair was Ryoko. Ryoko, how long was I out? For about 3 days. Where are the others? Is Melissa okay? She is fine. Before you passed out, you said her wounds were not serious and then healed her. The others were in rough shape, but they recovered and went home. Ryoko then explained that most of the casualties from the raid were down to Shigaraki's decay wave and Makia's ramage. One of the victims was Midnight. They had a funeral for her while Izuku was out. Endeavor had been sent to a mental hospital after the fight. The white-haired girl explained the Dabi situation. Apparently the man was not able to process the fact that his long-lost son became a villain. Fortunately, Shoto's sister and brother came to get him. Izuku was sad to hear about Endeavor and Midnight, but glad that his friends were okay. Suddenly, the door opened and Mihoshi Kuramitsu walked in. Mrs. Kuramitsu, what are you doing here? You haven't told him yet. I was getting to it. Ryoko turned to face her friend. She had a sad look on her face. Izuku, I'm turning myself into the Galactic Police. Really, Ryoko? Yes. I've learned a lot in my time here. You've all shown me what it means to be a hero. I'd be living a lie if I stayed here and continued on this path. I have to go back and face my past crimes. It is the right thing to do. Izuku had a storm of complicated feelings raging inside of him. He was sad that his friend was going, but mostly he felt pride. Pride the fact that his friend was taking responsibility for her past and trying to move forward. I thought you couldn't leave the planet. Your ship was destroyed in the crash. It was destroyed in the crash. However, the biocore survived. It has been regenerating this whole time. Can now form a new ship and take me and Mihoshi to the Galactic Police HQ. I'll be sad to see you go, Ryoko. Just remember, you will always have a home here. Thank you, Izuku. Later that day, Class 1A came by to check in on Izuku. Ryoko took the time to explain her past and that she was leaving Earth to answer for her crimes. The class was shocked at first. After the shock wore off, the guys all gave her their support, and the girls all cried that she was leaving. Izuku then invited all of his classmates to a send-off party at his grandfather's place. That weekend, all of 1A had gathered together in Katsuhito's backyard. All Might, Aizawa, Night-Eye, and Nezu had also joined the party. Everyone had a blast, but eventually it was time to say goodbye. Ryoko called for Ryo-Oki. The girls all lost their minds at how cute the cabot was. Ryoko commanded the creature transform. Ryo-Oki glowed and jumped into the air. In the next moment, where the cabot had been, a giant black ship made of interlocking crystals appeared. A ramp then descended from the ship's core. Okay, Ryoko, it is time. One moment. Ryoko hugged each of her friends and classmates. She then bowed to each of the adults in respect. All of them returned the gesture. Finally, Ryoko ran over to Melissa and spoke softly in her ear. Melissa, do me a favor and look out for Izuku. Melissa spoke back softly. I will, Ryoko. Take care of yourself. Ryoko gave the blonde girl a sly smile. Good. I know you two will be very happy together. Melissa's face turned red. She wanted to say there was nothing going on between her and Izuku, but looking at her friend's face, she couldn't bring herself to do it. She nodded her head and replied, We will, Ryoko. Ryoko smiled at her friend and ran to the ship and got on board. Everyone waved as the ship zoomed out of the atmosphere. Izuku walked over to Melissa. Hey Melissa, what did Ryoko say to you?
Oh, nothing. Just girl talk. Melissa wrapped her hand around Izuku's. She then pulled a green net in her direction. Let's get back to the party. Let's have some fun before we have to get back to school on Monday. Izuku smiled at contact.
Okay, sounds good. We still have 2 years before we graduate from UA.
3 years later, Izuku was seated on a train heading toward his grandfather's home.
Do you think the others will be alright without us?
Izuku turned to his right and saw Melissa. Come on, Izuku. This is not the first time you have taken a day off. They'll be fine.
I know. It's just that the Alliance agency hasn't been open very long, and I worry about leaving the others to their own devices.
Melissa laughed at Izuku. Come on, Momo will keep them all in line. Besides, we have bigger things to worry about today. The girl reached up and stroked a pendant around her neck. It was golden color with a sky blue gem in the middle. Izuku looked at Melissa's face.
What are you worried about?
We just got engaged last week. What if your mother or grandfather does not approve of me? Izuku reached over and wrapped his arm around Melissa's shoulder and pulled her into a hug.
You know that they both love you. Don't you remember how overjoyed my mom was when I told her we were dating?
True, but getting married is totally different. Izuku kissed his girl on the forehead.
You're being ridiculous. How could my mom not be happy that I'm marrying the greatest hero in the world?
You know that is just a title the press gave me. They stopped the rankings shortly after the final battle with the League.
Official or not, you will always be #1 in my eyes.
Melissa smiled at Izuku. I'm glad I said yes when you asked me out at the end of the second year. The perky girl leaned in and kissed Izuku on the lips. A short while later, the two disembarked the train. It was a lovely spring day. The two walked along the path to Izuku's grandfather's holding hands.
You know, it was on this path that I saw Ryoko's ship crash land 3 years ago.
Hard to believe she's been gone for so long. I wonder how she's doing. Suddenly, a large black object appeared in the sky. The object hooked a right and then plummeted toward the ground and crashed on the mountainside in the distance. The boom was so loud that the pair could hear it from where they were standing. Both Izuku and Melissa both looked at each other with amazed expressions.
Do you think? Only one way to find out.
Izuku conjured an airboard. Both he and Melissa hopped on the board and flew off towards the crash site. The object was a ship that looked just like Ryoko. The crash had caused a few fires in the area. Izuku extinguished the fires using his light hawk barriers. The main door of the ship opened with a loud hiss. A shapely figure in a full spacesuit exited the ship. From the shape, it was clear that the individual was female. The figure removed her helmet and revealed Ryoko's smiling face. Hey guys, look who's back. The three embraced in a group hug. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in all this information thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. If you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials has you covered. Our We the Celestials My Hero Academia and Naruto What If channels retell the story of the namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Fourthly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in today's excellent content production. Their details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, I'd like to extend an invitation to join the team. The only caveat is that we only accept members from 16 years old to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fills your interest by joining the Recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for members to join us. And if you want more content from me, you can check me out at Trina Do Heart on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, and you can hire me as your voice actress. Well, that's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching, and have a great day. Hope you enjoyed the series. Admiral Trina signing out.